Well, hey, Philip.
Mayor Ronnie Curran, happy Thursday night.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Um, Welcome to the show. This is your first one. I know you are new to the chamber, and I guess you're going to host this thing going forth. Are you going to be the permanent host, or have you figured that out yet?
Well, if you'll have me, we'll see how I do tonight, and then you decide whether I'm invited back for March.
I got you. I got you. Well, welcome. I know we got a couple really great guests tonight, and look kind of looking forward to that. But I know you just getting in the chamber, getting your things, organized. So, what has it been like the last 30 days? What's your experience been? What's been happening around Rolesville with the chamber?
It's energy and excitement. I mean, I went to the Tuesday night meeting at the town hall, and the energy, the people that are coming in, bringing issues in. I mean, there's so much change going on. It creates lots of chaos, and that creates opportunity. So what I'm seeing from the view of the chamber is that with cobblestone coming in, being fully booked out, and people going, wait, I thought I could, but I understand it's fully booked, and it's all local businesses, not national chains. We've got Publix going in on the south end. I drive in from Youngsville or Wake Forest, and what I used to see is plowed fields is now it's plowed foundations for suburbs. Mm-hmm. So there's so much growth going on. I can't wait to see what this place is going to be like in just the next 6 months. So it's great to be here. We are starting where some other places were 20 years ago. We're finally getting ours, and the developers are here. The corporations are coming in, the residents are coming in, the business owners are coming in. So it's ground floor opportunity. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot going on, and it may be too much. We'll have to kind of keep an eye on that as it goes forth the next couple years.
Do you want to definitely do it in control? Yes.
That's right. You said chaos. I think you used the term chaos. I'm hoping we can have organized chaos.
Organized chaos brings opportunity. Absolutely.
We'll have to wait and see.
I guess the chaos comes from, I came from owning a business over in Wake Forest, which I sold in October, and I'm new to a nonprofit, and they had not had a director for about 9 months. So I'm coming in kind of like it's flying an airplane at 40,000 feet and trying to change the spark plugs while keeping the thing in the air. So we've got a lot of structural things we're changing with the chamber to make it a nationally renowned chamber of commerce.
Well, I hope you have a parachute in case something goes wrong with that changing that spark plug. But
they're not paying me enough for a parachute. Sorry, no.
But really, tonight we got two great guests. We're going to talk a little bit about this month, February is Black History Month, and we're going to talk a little bit about Black history. And I always thought of myself as a history buff, Philip. I don't know about you, but history has always been fascinating to me. I know one time in my life I did that genealogy thing, trying to look up all your ancestors, and spent several years doing that. And doing something like that, you finally run into a brick wall where you can't find them. You run out of leads and you run out of everything. But I do remember that, and also for the last several. Go to mute. I think it's echoing a little bit. So last several months, I've been working on trying to find a history of the town, and that's been fascinating because we don't really have history of who the mayors were and who the commissioners were and stuff like that. I guess we didn't keep good records, and we had a fire in 1917. I guess everything got burned up back then. So it's a lot of unknowns, but discovering history, learning about history, sometimes you will find some fascinating things in history. And I think that's kind of what we'll see tonight and talk about.
I drive down the road and I see something in the back of somebody's yard and I go, wow, what is that and why is it there? It's like that big stone, that big rock out behind Greenway Bottle Shop.
Mm-hmm.
think of the prehistoric people probably stood on top of that rock.
That's right. Exactly. And I don't know. You like history, Philip?
I do. In fact, when I was in school, I remember freshman history, I made a C in it because it was boring because it was 300 people in the room. Then I didn't take the second semester history until I was a senior. I qualified to take senior history Civil War, focused on just the 4 years of the Civil War, and an A+ in that because it was actually so interesting. We had an instructor who was deep into being a Civil War reenactor. So getting into it was great. My mom is the genealogist, and she inherited the genealogy train from her mother. I don't have the same infection of wanting to do genealogy she does, but I do have a very good library of my ancestors. So I know who came over in the Mayflower, and once she made a connection to the British family, then we were connected all the way back to the times of Jesus Christ.
Right. Right. Well, that's good. She done your work for you. It sounds like so. You got a
Still doing my work for me.
She got a head start there. But
Terry Rostimo, 91 years old and still doing genealogy.
That's right. So we got two guests I'm really excited to talk to. I've been knowing the first one, Sigmon, for a long time. Don't even remember the first time we met, but we've been in the same circle a few years now, and she's a fascinating lady. We're going to learn a lot about her. She's going to really educate us on things that she has experienced in her lifetime and stuff like that. And then Tony, I met Tony probably a couple years ago through me being mayor and he being president of NAACP. We got together a few times. He loves seafood. I don't know if I'm gonna give that secret up on him or not, but he loves seafood and we've had seafood together before and probably again. So fascinating guy. He works really hard. He has a lot of passion on what he does, and kind of want to kind of find out how his organization fits into this month and how things kind of work on that. And very excited to have both of them on. I'm really appreciated that both of them would come on tonight. And I think this is a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about Black history and kind of some of the past in that.
Absolutely. You ready to bring on Sigmon?
Yeah, let's bring her on. I'm excited about talking to her. Hey there.
I'm going to hide. Hi, Sigmon. I'm going to go away for a little while.
And be sure you mute your mic too. So, how you doing tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. I am fabulous, and I'm excited that you have invited me to your pod. And I'm just excited just to share my experiences with Black History Month.
Yeah, one of the things, I enjoy being around you, Sigmon, is, the excitement. You're always excited. I never seen you not excited about something. You always upbeat, always excited, always energetic. I'm not sure. You may can correct me on this, but I'm not sure I ever seen you in a bad mood or a down mood, anything.
I have my moments, but I try to be as positive, particularly if I'm working in the public, doing my community service. I have to be upbeat because you never know what the other person is experiencing in their lives. And so you try to be positive and embrace everyone and love on everyone. And so that's what I do.
Well, I know it's a joy for me always talking with you, and it's my honor for you to come on here rather than vice versa. Appreciate you coming on. And the first thing I want to do is for the community to get to know. I know a lot of people in the community know you, and you know a lot of people in the community, but maybe some watching that don't. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and maybe how did you end up in Rolesville, the little small town in Wake County?
Well, first of all, let me say this. My name is Sigmon Zeleke. I am from Washington, D.C. I retired from the Department of Justice, and I worked in the Civil Rights Division, and we did housing law enforcement. I moved to Rolesville in 2009. I came down in the summer, and I had one friend who lived in Raleigh, and I came here and I saw the house that I'm living in now, fell in love with it, and by October I had moved in. And so I love the community. I became very active in the community. And so it has been a wonderful journey for me. And I learned very early that you let the last years of your life be your best years. So I'm having my best years.
Well, that's good. That's good. I know you do a lot of traveling. I think you go up to DC a lot still. How many years did you spend in DC? Was it most of your life?
Yes, I am from DC. And then I attended, no, I moved to California. No, I attended Howard University in DC, got married, moved to California, and then returned back to the East Coast and back to DC.
So you lived there most of your life then, a long time.
Yes, right.
What do you find different about DC and here in the South in Rolesville?
Well, the pace is slower in Rolesville. DC, well, I always laugh when I hear people say that 540 is a traffic jam. I think that is so funny. You have no idea what a traffic jam is until you live in Washington, D.C. So, and also culturally, I think the pace here is slower. People are friendlier, warmer. In DC, it's always the hustle, the bustle, and everyone has to get to the next place, and everyone has to do something immediately. Whereas down here is this Southern charm, and it's more laid back. And at my age, in my generation, this is comfortable for me.
That's great. Peter, Philip and I was talking a little bit about history and our history passion somewhat. Are you passionate? Is history one of your passions?
Yes, very much so.
And I know Black history is a big passion. So when you think about Black History Month, what comes to your mind? What is the first thing that comes to your mind thinking about, back childhood, coming up into, high school work time, college, you said you went to Howard. When you're thinking about Black history, what do you think about?
I think first that Black history is about educating our young people, educating non-Blacks, just educating people of the struggles that we as a people had to go through and how we have achieved so many, overcome so many obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reminded of, as a child, studying Black history. And of course, during those days, we learned about most of the African Americans who were dead that had made great contributions.
Right.
And as I became older, then I began to understand and focus more on the civil rights movement and the activism that was going on, and our present day achievers. Black History Month was established by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1926. And at that time, it was called Negro History Week.
Okay.
And before his death, he was able to establish it so that it was an entire month. And I want to dispel one myth that's out there, and I hear it all the time. Everyone thinks that when Black History Month was enacted by law by President Gerald Ford in 1976, I believe, that Congress chose February, which is the shortest month. Congress did not choose February.
Right.
Dr. Woodson chose February because he wanted to honor Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. who's both of them had birthdays in February.
Mhm.
So I just want to put that little
Yeah, and
tidbit out
that
there.
is that's the core, the origin of the history. If you want to dig down to the how it actually came about, originally, that's fascinating in itself.
Right.
And I think we talked about a little bit before. Black history is predates 1976 and the official making it a month, a national month like that, a recognition. I mean, for you, it dates back to early childhood, Black History Month.
Yes, as a child living in the North, in the 1950s, um, Black history was observed not only at schools, but in our churches and in our communities. And so I grew up knowing um, about Black history. I grew up learning about how we as a people had to overcome so many things. I grew up listening to my father speak about job insecurities and speaking about equal pay and speaking about fair housing and education for his children. And so I was surrounded by this kind of communication. And then on TV, I saw Dr. Martin Luther King do the marches on DC, and I became just amazed and aware, and I became proud of who I am, and I wanted to share this experience, my experience, with my Girl Scout troop and all the
Right.
other groups I was a part of, to let them know that we came from slavery to the presidency,
Mhm.
to the vice presidency, to having Congress with members in Congress. I'll never forget Shirley Chisholm, who
I
became,
remember that name. I
yes,
remember her.
she's the first Black woman to run for president, or Barbara Jordan, who came out of Texas, I believe, and she
Right.
came into Congress. And so, and now today we have quite a few elective officials who are non-white, who are in the minority. And so we are very proud
Mhm.
of that. But we want to share this with our children and share this with the world,
Mhm.
that we are a race, that we're in every facet of American life, and we're still striving, and we're still doing all we can do uh, to make our life in America better for everyone, not just Blacks, but for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to unity. Everyone, honor everyone, remember the heritage of everyone. Just
Yes,
be one. I mean, we're one country, one people. So that's
exactly.
really that's really a good way to think of it, and really
Well, you're taking my theme song.
right, right. Let me ask you this: when we think about history in the past, I know a lot of people I've talked to. They've had a significant event they went to one time. It could have been a march, or it could have been, I guess it would have been really, fantastic if you was there, in the National Square when Martin Luther King gave the speech and that kind of stuff. Do you have a event that really stands out in your mind that was something that you would never forget?
Yes. Uh, the event on the mall, Dr. Martin Luther King, the March on Washington, the Million Man March, and the Million Women's March. I participated in all of those,
Yeah.
and they were just powerful because we were a collective body of one. It didn't matter your political views or what church you belonged to or what your ethnicity was. We came together with one purpose in mind, and that was to fight for civil rights for everyone, equal pay, equal justice, equal housing, and just unity of mind, spirit, and body. And so when you are on the Washington Mall with thousands and thousands of people all chanting and singing and moving in the same direction, it's amazing. It is the most awesome experience that a person can have. And you see that kind of unity, that melting pot of people coming together. It's something you never forget.
I bet. And it's places you can go now that I think if you go, you can. I've been to Montgomery. I don't know if you've been to Montgomery, Mott, the
Yes.
Injustice Center and the museum down there. They got a
Yes.
museum down there. I mean, those places really, they catch you. They really grab you, and they change you too. Also, have you been to those lately, Sigma? Any time lately?
Not lately, but I have been to them several times. I visited the church where the children died. I visited Dr. Martin Luther King's home. I crossed the Pettus Bridge.
Right.
So I've had an experience of traveling there and seeing for myself some of that history.
Yeah.
So
I think when you think about Black History Month, everybody should go there one time. Everybody should experience that, because it's a lot of it preserved. I mean, it's a lot of things down there is preserved, just like it was, back in '68 in those times. I mean, you almost feel like you can go back in time sometimes. Do you get that feeling?
exactly. I visited Dr. Martin Luther King's church and the Eternal Flame for his museum. And it just made me humble to know that someone marched on my behalf. Someone died for me so that I could have access to voting,
Right.
so that I could have a better job, so that I could have a better home. And I think of all of through history, what Black people had to endure. We are in a generation now of comfort, and so we haven't struggled like our forebears had struggled. But and so we are living off and standing on their shoulders. And so that's why I think it's important for us to keep on pushing on our local government, pushing for laws that harm us as opposed to helping us, just for us to be active in our communities. Right. And also, I wanted to say, Ronnie, when we sit down and have a discussion like this, we see that we're more alike than we are unalike.
You're exactly right. You can't be no closer to the truth on that for sure. You had mentioned some things today. Let's talk about that a little bit. Expand a little bit more. So thinking back when you was a child, when you're coming up, maybe in grade school learning, what is the significant differences you see today than you see back in history then? What do you see? Do you see things as being more better, more progressive today? Do you feel more? I was thinking you mentioned we're maybe more comfortable today, maybe something like that.
Right. Today, it's different than when I was a child. There were a lot of restrictions, even in the North, that my father shared with me. I did not experience them myself until I got to high school. I went to a predominantly white high school. I was one of 12 African Americans to attend this school. And there was a lot of adversity to Blacks attending this particular school. And but by the time we graduated, the adversity I felt when I first arrived had dissolved. And we, the children, became more accepting of each other. and kinder. The parents weren't, but the children were. And so hopefully, but today I also see that the children are fine. It's still the parents. There's still vestiges of racism in America. It may not be as open as it used to be, but it's there. And one thing that really I'm emotional about is when the governor of Florida enacted this Stop Woke Act. And for everyone, let me tell you what woke means in his act. It's WOKE, and it means wrongs to kids and employees. Now, what that means that if you discuss civil rights or race or diversity, then you are causing a non-white to be distressed. And so we don't want that in our education system, grades K through 12, nor do we want this on our jobs. Now, to me, this is a step back. And I grew up in a mixed school. I grew up from elementary, also in high school. And as we celebrated Black History Month, my classmates embraced it. There was no, I'm distressed about it. I'm ashamed.
Right.
I feel guilty. Okay. Because we're talking about living my history, we're talking about Blacks living their own history. Okay. And so now here we come in 2023, and we have legislation that suppresses a people's history. So do we suppress the Holocaust?
Right.
Do we suppress any of the negative things that may have occurred because we now want to say that someone else may be distressed, may cause them emotional distress? I feel that woke act is harmful, and I don't want to see my Black history erased from the history books. I want our children to know and be proud that we have overcome so much.
Yeah.
And we didn't do it just by ourselves. We always had non-whites with us to help us in our struggle. And so I'm capitalizing. That's what Black history means to me. Every people coming together as one.
That's fantastic. Let me ask you this. I know Philip will be coming back in just a second, and our time's running short. But I really want to talk before you leave. One question I want to ask is about the future. You know where you've been. You know where you got here today. But thinking ahead, and this is just a crystal ball type thing. 25 years from now, when we're thinking about Black history, 25 years from now, what would they be talking about? And what do you envision things to be like in 25 years?
In 25 years from now, I know I won't be here, but I'm
No,
like Martin Luther King. I have a dream, and I'm hoping and praying and dreaming that we will tear away these boundaries that we have today, that we would stop thinking of losing something, or we can't accept another person's religion, belief, politics, that we can tear all those boundaries down and that we can become one. We are all Americans. At the end of the day, we are all Americans. And when we had COVID, we as Americans came together and we prayed together and we prayed for each other. And so my dream 20 years, 25 years from now is that we do the same thing, that we stop looking at us as different. We are all one body. We're one body in Christ. We're one body as humans. We need to respect each other, respect their positions, respect their heritage, respect their ethnicity. ethnicity. I can't even say that word. I'm getting so
That's
emotional.
great.
But accept people, and love on one another. Okay, I think if we do that, there'll be a better future for us. We won't have all of this division and discourse. We won't have politics of hatred or being unkind, mean. We would never have the attack on the Capitol because we would have respect for each other.
That's right.
And I hope never again will we see an insurrection of any kind in America.
Great. I tell you, Philip, I see you back. I think Sigmon and I could talk about this all day, at least another couple of hours probably. But did you have any questions, anything before we bring Tony on? And Sigmon, I really hope you stay on to the end, and we'll bring you back at the end and say goodbye to the community if you would.
Okay.
But do you have any questions, Philip?
As much a question as a statement. I like what you've said, and I that's kind of the ideals that I've followed. I come from a slightly different direction. I grew up on Star Trek and the utopia of Star Trek and the Federation of Planets. It's kind of like, wow, why can't we be like that? So yes, all of the things you mentioned about coming together is a wish and a hope. So definitely.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
That's our future we're talking about,
That's right. That's exactly right.
As a grandfather, yes, I look at my children going, what world am I bringing them to?
Yes.
Well, great. Appreciate it. Hang on if you want to. Hope you do, and we'll bring you back.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good talking with you.
Good talking to you. Hey, Tony.
Hello there. How are you?
I hope you're doing well.
I am.
This is the first time you've heard Sigmon talk.
It was.
You'll probably try to pick her up to do something for you for long.
I will definitely. She's on that list of people that I would like to invite to speak. Yes.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, tonight I did get you two together.
Yeah,
You got to
right.
meet her and she got to meet you. So
Yes.
that's a good thing. But really appreciate you being on the show too. I know we have talked quite a few times. I kind of gave a little hint out there that you love seafood. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a native Floridian, so I grew up around a lot of fish and seafood. So yes,
Right.
I am. That's my first love when it comes to food. Although in full disclosure, I don't know. I've never met a plate I didn't like.
That's right. I know. I seen you eat, Tony. So were you around Cajun food? Is that something that you like?
Not very much. No, it was the true Southern fried fish, collard greens, fried chicken, chitlins. I'm a country boy.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about who Tony is. I know I've known you a couple of years maybe, and maybe how did you get to where you as being president of the NAACP? What drove you as a young man to pursue that, and how did you get involved? And you heard some of the stuff that me and Sigmon talked about, and I guess you got a similar story.
Somewhat similar. With some variances. I grew up with an aunt that was very active in the NAACP, and so it was infused in my blood. My whole family was NAACP, but my aunt was very active and was kind of my role model for just some of the path that she took. She was a science man. I think she was a biology major, and so I became a physics major. We both went to Florida A&M. So I just kind of followed around trying to be as good as she was. So she was my first introduction into the NAACP. Unlike Sigma, I actually grew up in during the time period where doing elementary and middle school, particularly elementary, it was pretty much an all black high school, all black elementary school. And high school, I moved and then eventually moved to a school that was majority white. So I still carried around the treasures that my grandparents instilled in me. My grandmother was very much a very powerful force in my life. If there's anything good in me, you can thank her for it. All the bad things, probably can thank my siblings. But so growing up in the country with some pretty basic rules of respect was pretty much my foundation. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. You took off your shoes because those were the only good pair of school shoes you wore, and you put on last year's shoes, which were now this year's play shoes. And just, the struggles that we went through just to make ends meet. We didn't know we were poor because everybody else around us was poor. So it was just
Yeah, it's
it
just
was
normal.
right. It was just a normal way of life. To get into the NAACP, I went after moving here. I actually, as an insurance broker, was asked by another broker who was insuring the NAACP at the time and was getting out of the group business, and asked if I would take over as the agent of record. And subsequent to taking that over and taking that on, it very quickly became obvious to me that I didn't want to be the broker or the of the benefits for the NAACP, that I also wanted to be a servant and serve in the NAACP. So I got recruited and assigned to be a member of the Wendell-Wake County Branch, in which I joined. And shortly after becoming a member, became the branch secretary. I was elected to be branch secretary, and subsequent to that, became branch president. So this is my second term as branch president, and it has been a labor of love.
That's great. We're talking about history tonight, and it sounds like you're describing your family has been part of the NAACP ever since your childhood, probably. So what's the history of your perspective? What was it like in the beginning when you were a child, and how has it? I imagine it's evolved some over time with the changing of the struggles and the challenges and stuff like that. How have you seen it evolved and change what you do and what you try to achieve?
I think that there have been progress made. Unfortunately, I think that there's way too much work to still be done based upon the years that have transcended over from the time that, February 12th, 1909, when the NAACP started. There's still work to be done. And we in the Wendell-Wake County Branch, and our branch started up in 1944, 35 years after the initial launch of the NAACP. And there's still work to be done. There's still those who were fueled by hate, and unfortunately, in a world where I don't think that that's going to be ever eradicated, but we want to have as much as possible from a systematic standpoint to make sure that within the systems that govern and rule, that we are treated fairly and equitably. So I've seen the changes as a child, growing up and seeing and hearing the stories of my grandparents and my parents and family. I was there. There was a time when I was frightened to be around anybody that wasn't black, and for as trusting, because there's one set of racism in the city, and there was a different set of racism in the country. And when you grew up in the country, you kind of made sure that you kind of stayed close to home, so that somebody was always had an eye on you. If it wasn't grandma, it was grandma's best friend 2 houses down the road or somewhere, that you were always being watched, out of the fear of you being harmed or mentally or physically. So growing up in that, and then subsequently going to high school, that was mostly white, and then going to a college, Florida A&M University, that is HBCU. It was was a roller coaster ride on experiences, but I'm grateful for it because it really, as Sigmon had said, it really kind of boils down to loving people. And I think that if we can latch onto the spiritual commitment that we made as Christians, one of the things that I often ask when I hear these discriminatory conversations was that, well, if there's no black heaven or white heaven and there's just heaven, why can't we strive to have that kind of peace and that kind of heaven here on earth? If that's what we ultimately want to be, then it's going to be determined by actions here. So there's been, I think that there have been advances made, and by far there's a whole laundry list of advancements by all people. The African American community did not get to have some of the advances that we have without the collaborative effort of all people of colors. So being pro-black is not being anti-white. It's just you want to somebody has to stand up for those who can't speak for themselves or who are fearful of speaking for themselves, or they may be deterred from speaking. So the NAACP tries to be a voice for the security of Black people and all people of color. And so we're hoping, and one of the things that we're championing right now is the voter registration. We want people to get out, get registered, get your IDs, and vote. We have a phrase: voter education, registration, and transportation. We want to get you registered. We want to get you educated on the candidates so that you can make an educated decision. And we want to help to make sure that once you got that and you're ready to vote, that the means of getting to and from the polls is not a barrier from you casting your vote. So voter registration, education, transportation. And for your listeners, that we have the Universal Circus that is coming to the area, and February the 18th is NAACP Day. And we're going to be really pushing and trying to help people get registered to vote there.
That's great. That's great. When we'll talk about a little bit more about your events
Sure.
before we get you off here, but I want to ask, about the history and all. Thinking back, do you think of anything that, for your perspective, that specifically was a life-changing event or life-changing thing for you in the past that made a big difference? I guess is kind of what I'm asking.
Oh man, to be honest with you, Mayor, there were several. And for me, the most life-changing event for me happened about 28 years ago when I devoted my life to God. And at that point, I carried around a lot of bitterness, growing up in a situation of being called boy, being spat at, and things of that nature, does not work very well for softening the heart.
Right.
But it was after the most pivotal point in my life was January 28th of 1998 when I committed my life to serving God. And that, to me, was the point of where I truly allowed me to have the scales fall from my eyes, if you would, and to start to see things differently.
Right. That's a great answer. I don't know if you can beat anybody can top that answer, Tony. That's a great answer. From a standpoint, I guess some events, even some of them recent in history, like Sigmon mentioned, the presidency and the vice presidency and some of the other offices, and you see people, CEOs, like black CEO officers and all kinds of stuff. Is that life changing? Is that life changing for the black community?
It is. It proves for that there is no, there is no ceiling. There never was a ceiling. Um, it was I think it was a mirage that was put out and people bought into because of the limitations and the pressures that were being placed on them. But I don't see that there was ever a ceiling. And seeing some of the accomplishments that were made in the having a black president, having a black vice president, some of the CEOs of companies. I'm a business owner of a couple of companies myself, in which I am grateful that I can have this opportunity to be able to serve and to be self-employed. There are a lot of people that gave up their lives and suffered a lot so that I could have these opportunities, and I don't take them for granted. So I really try and focus on as much as I can to playing it forward. I know that's a recent term that people are starting to use, but that's been one of my mottos for a while, is that to remember those and to give back which has been so freely given to me.
That's great. We have a question. This is a live show, so we have a question coming in from Terry Simmons, which is a business owner here in town, very active. She runs nonprofits and stuff. Can you see her question there, Tony?
Can you help explain the difference between equality and equity? During the time of DEI, that's a common question of what exactly is equity. Equity is doing what's right. Equality is doing what's fair. Equality means that you and I, there shouldn't be any difference between how you're treated and how I'm treated based upon the color of our skin. Doing what's equitable is that if we both apply for the job and I'm more qualified than you, then the equitable thing to do is to hire the best candidate. So, and that's a very simplistic response. And I know that we're kind of limited on time. I don't want to just go off into a deep dive into that, but that's kind of the basis for where I am and where my interpretation of that is.
That's a great answer, and I think we're striving for both, and
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, they're different. They're not really the same, and you're getting a lot of thumbs up from some of our people out there, Tony. So you really are touching the community, and I think that's what we wanted to do there. So thank you. And this is a live show. One of the things I wanted to ask you, we talked a lot about the past, but today, when you think about today and your group, in looking at some, going and looking at your website and some of the stuff, it looks like you do a lot of things around teaching and education, events, and getting people involved, more than just protesting or doing other things. What is exactly? How do you exactly engage with people today? What is your?
We're trying to really increase our visibility and our credibility in the community. And a lot of that has with being able to serve. Our youth are doing a great job. We had a Wake Up and Read campaign to where we it was kind of a collaboration of getting the kids physically fit and getting and reading. So we would go out and put up storyboards throughout the park. So you had to walk and physically get out into nature and exercise. And then you read a chapter, and it was a very simplistic story. And you will go to the next station and you read. But we really are about education. And, there are a lot of people that will want for us to forget the path that has brought us to this point. And I don't think that that's the answer. I think that's a great disrespect to those leaders that paid the ultimate cost so that we could have the opportunities that we do have now. So I don't think that I'm not an advocate for the elimination of the study of history. I'm more of a person that thinks that it's good to teach history. You can never know how far you came until you know where you came from. You can't make that measurement without a reference point. So I'm all about making sure that we continue to educate. We do a lot of teaching because education, in our opinion, is power. You know, you don't, what you can only change what you know, and you can only make those changes if you know. So we are really about making sure that we empower our members, empower our communities by teaching and service is one thing. There's an old adage that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so we want to get in the communities and we want to make sure that we are taking care of, we're serving. We have various different things that we have done and that are on the agenda to do. And to be quite honest with you, our biggest challenge now is having enough members. I think that's a challenge that a lot of service organizations are having now, is that we just can't get enough people to do the jobs that we like to do the food banking, to do the voter registrations, to do the wake up and read, to do, you know, the various different things that we like to do. We would, a lot more could be accomplished if we had a greater membership, and we're working on that.
Right.
We're working, and we're asking people that if you got an hour, you can do so much more with that than you're aware of, and we would love to have you team join us. Hop on the team, hop on the train. We want to move this thing and go some places.
We could talk. It's so challenging to have two great guests on here like you and Sigmon, because y'all have so much content, so much we can talk about, and you just can't get it in within 60 minutes by no means.
Yeah.
But before we go, I do want you to talk a little bit about your events coming up, and kind of let the people in the community know what you got going on, if you would.
Sure. The Universal Soul Circus is back. I think it's been gone for 3-5 years, but since they've been here, and they are making a big movement on voting and getting out to vote. So they've actually given us a night, February 18th, that would be NAACP voting night. We want to get everybody to come out. If you don't want to attend the circus, if you just need to get registered to vote, we'll be there to register, to help you get registered to vote, even though I think registration ends tomorrow, is it? But we're going to get you registered to vote, because we want you to vote. And the key here is that we need people to know that it's not that you voted, it's not just the November ballot. We want to vote at the municipal level. This is where we live. These are the people that are going to be serving us. Those are the ones that we really want to focus on, because that's where we're going to see the most immediate effect. So November the 18th, please come out and join us at the Coastal Credit Union for Universal Circus. And what you see there is our youth. Our youth have been doing a virtual blood drive. And if you scan that QR code, you can make an appointment. And for each one person that gives blood, it really benefits our youth as well. And so, unlike before, we were trying something a little bit more technology for that generation that generally responds more immediate. And that is our virtual blood drive, and it has been extended, so it's still in process.
That's good.
And this Sunday, we are having our Black History and Humanitarian program. This year's recipient is going to be Mayor Glenn York, the first African-American mayor of Zebulon. And good fitting order, the first African-American female of mayor in Knightdale, Jessica Day, will be our keynote speaker. And it's going to be a great event. We're asking people to come out. It's going to be at Pleasant Grove Baptist Church in Wendell, and it will be live streamed as well. But we would love to have you come out in person, because we're planning on having a little lunch reception afterwards, and a great time for people to mix and mingle and get a chance to meet some of those people that are really trailblazing in the modern day world.
Yeah, I know both of those individuals personally, and that's going to be a fantastic day.
Make sure you're there.
I wish I'm gonna be out of town.
Okay.
I'm going to Bowie's Creek to be with my son and my little granddaughter.
Oh,
But I'm gonna have to watch it though. You said
yeah.
it's
It's
gonna
going to be
be
live stream.
so
Yes.
I'm gonna have to watch it because I would love to be there, and I would reach out to the community. If you're not out of town Sunday, because this is Sunday, right?
Yes. Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
and you
It's
won't
Sunday.
postpone it for me, I don't guess. But uh, I reach out to the community. Anybody that's watching, please go because I know both of them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and Jessica and
And speaking of postponements, we as of next year we will be changing it. We've always done it the second Sunday in February, and then the Super Bowl caught up with us.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna starting next year we'll push it back a week or push it ahead a week,
Yeah.
so that we're not in competition with the greatest football spectacle that's going on that particular day.
That is right. That is right.
Mhm.
Football, I had forgot about that. That is Super Bowl weekend. That is. I had forgot about Super Bowl weekend,
Yeah.
but that is coming up. Sigmon is back. Let me ask you. Thank you, Tony. You did a great
Thank
job.
you.
Appreciate you. We could talk a long time. But do you eat seafood, Sigmon?
Yes, I do.
You like
I
seafood?
love seafood.
You do love. All right, let's do this. Us, and we'll invite Philip if he behaves and he does okay. The four of us will get a time in the next few weeks and maybe in March, and we'll eat seafood here. It's a good seafood place right close to my office. I can walk to it. You ate there, I think, Tony.
Yeah, I did. It did, and it was really good.
So let's do that. Let's do that. Get together, talk a little bit more, extend our discussion a little bit more. But I guess Philip, I see you back. You've been in the background. Any questions for this panel tonight? Anything you got?
I think we've got to get some great participation come in from the streams. We saw a few of those things pop up there. Very, very great information to provide. Thank you all for coming, and I look forward to that seafood meal.
I do
too.
I do too. All right, I'm gonna give you both a chance for closing thoughts. Sigmon, any closing thoughts? Black History Month in Rolesville.
Yes, my closing thought would be that I would love to see a Black History program coming out of the Rolesville Chamber or the Commissioner's Office. I think that would be wonderful. And I just wanted to tag Tony to say, did you want to put your telephone number in the chat so that there may be people who might want to contact you?
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea, and I will. I had to pull it out because I had to change. We have a new NAACP phone number because they don't want me giving out my personal phone number.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take that as a challenge, Sigmon, and we will work on that, and we'll get you involved too in giving us an idea what date you want and how we can make that work. So thank you for that.
Yes.
Tony, any I see a note from some of our listeners. They like seafood. I think a lot of people are going to show up when we get together. I think.
You've now opened up a whole can of worms. We're gonna have a whole lot of people. We better have a seafood.
They're going to be watching us when we get together. They're going to fill the place up wanting seafood. Tony, any closing thoughts from you? Any closing comments?
Thank you for having us on. It is truly an honor, and in the month that we celebrate Black History, it is great to be able to just speak a little bit about some of the work being done and hear some of the stories. Sigmon, thank you for your transparency and for sharing. It was very well felt. And I hope that my closing statement is one that you should expect. Please, please, please get your voter ID. They're free at the voter registrar's office, and go out and vote. Voting changes things. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Your vote matters. Please cast it.
That's good. Philip, first night here, we didn't do a good job on time, But let's
A little bit over.
Let's run through the events real quick, if you don't mind.
This Saturday, noon in Rolesville, we're having a grand opening for one of our new business, Workout Anytime. Come out and show support for a business owner. The chamber is having our awards banquet and dinner on the 22nd. Tickets still available. We'll be having it at the Renaissance Center in Wake Forest. Look forward to having an event center or something like that in Rolesville sometime soon as well. Let's see. That is Arise Co-working having a veteran meetup. They have a third Saturday meeting every month from 9 to 11 for veterans. March 3rd, women who are active duty or veterans are going to have their own opportunity to get together at 2:30 p.m. at the American Legion Hall in Rolesville. So actually in Wake Forest. So ladies from the military, please be aware there's an event for you on March. I just saw that again on March 3rd. Come out for that. Women's Leadership Lunch. Ladies, again, March 9th in this year, hosted by the Wake Forest Chamber over across the street, New Bethel Church on Young Street. So please come out for that on March 9th. And then we'll go back to Tony's events too. I've got those tucked in here once again. And I think that's what we've got.
Wow, what a night. It's been fantastic, and just appreciate everybody participating. I hope the community got a really as much out of it as I did. I got a whole lot out of it. Enjoyed having both of our guests on tonight, and really appreciate that. And the month is not over, so this is just the 8th. We got a few more weeks to go. So let's. I challenge everybody to in Black History Month, leave you with a challenge. Find something to read. Find some reading material. Try to find some reading materials about a Black history topic that you don't know a whole lot about, and learn a little bit about it. And the last challenge would be go to one of Tony's events. He's got a lot of things going on. So you do those things in the next couple weeks, and this be really, really beneficial for you and everybody else. So appreciate you joining tonight. Great show. Thank you, guests. And we will see you again next month. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.